Someone placed an order. The deal isn't great, but it's a chance for some extra cash. I don't trust banks, but this money will help. Good morning, Mr. Van Haven. I'm Arthur Oliver, and I'm representing a new brand of coffee. We're called...
Please don't go on. Let me speak. It's the new Kersey coffee brand, am I right? Ha! Of course, I heard. Welcome to my humble little business, Mr. Oliver. How can I help you?
Thank you. Can I just say, I think we can help each other, but all in good time. I'm here about the excellent range of Foxy Hills coffees. Is that your work?
In a word, yes. I buy coffee that I like myself, and it provides me with the cigars which I also like. An ideal arrangement, wouldn't you say?
I would agree. If your premium range included our classic strong black coffee, espresso standard. At the right price, of course. After all, we wouldn't want you to go without good cigars.
You've got me there. Cigars are my weakness, but it stays in the office. My wife, you know, she doesn't like the smell. But let's get back to the coffee. I interrupted you. Please go on.
Nice photo. From your student days?
Yes. Being young is wonderful when the world is your oyster.
You speak as if it's over.
What? You mean I don't look like it? You are a card, Mr. Oliver. Well, I do try to move a bit so as to not become totally desk-bound.
It shows. And the man next to you, isn't that Richard Kersey?
The very same. He was my best friend at university and since. And these are our charming wives. Actually, our fiancés then. Catherine Seeger and Amanda Okote.
You look a close bunch.
We were, then. But life writes strange scenarios. The best of friends can fall out over the silliest things. And other people are worth forgetting.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I keep the picture to remember the good times. Let's return to the here and now. Mr. Oliver, things are looking up.
Congratulations on the birth of your daughter. I hope both the mother and baby are doing well.
Thank you. Both in good health and so similar. I tell you, they look like sisters. It's amazing how a person passes on their genes and then watches as they live their own life.
It seems you're enjoying your new role.
Not at first, but it's getting better and better. Despite my super condition, I'm not as young as I was, and the little one demands so much attention. Just like our business. Let's get down to it, shall we?
I heard you graduated from the London School of Economics.
Good times. Young, confident, sure of yourself. It was tough at times, but what do you expect from the best academy in the country? We shared a room in the dorms with Richard. Soon after, I met Amanda, my wife. Richard's future wife introduced us. Then everything started falling into place. Obviously, only up till the Kersey's tragedy, which hit me and my wife hard. That's the past, though. There's nothing there for us now. Let's move on.
We're new on the market, but we have a lot of experience in the field. We have a unique variety of coffee, trusted suppliers, and top quality equipment. We offer excellent quality at a good price. Miss Clarabelle has already dealt with us, and she's sure not to sell you a pup.
That's great. Quality is my top priority, and that's what I taught Clarabelle, so it's a recommendation of sorts. And if we're talking about quality, my wife bought me a cigar not long ago. Came in a carved wooden box, well-known brand, and the aroma, aromatic tobacco like from the top drawer.
Like it got chucked in there by accident?
Precisely. It was filthy. After smoking it, I felt so nauseous, I spat it into the bin. I opened all the office windows and even had to use air freshener, so it's best if we both assess the quality. It's hard to find these days. I used to be interested in the effect of different cultures on negotiations. In Japan, there is a need for distance. Don't even dare to look someone in the eye. It's even harder with the Swedes. They're so serious. Oh, this is a good one. Do you know the difference between an introvert Finn and an extrovert one?
I really have no idea.
The first, throughout the whole conversation, looks at his shoes. The second looks at yours. It's a good one, isn't it?
Well, you can learn so much from visiting a client. But anyway, to get back to the aim of my visit, can we discuss the deal?
But of course, I was rambling, but you have to admit, it's a fascinating aspect of business. Your proposal exceeds my current capabilities. I suggest we cut the delivery charges or just lower the product cost to compensate them. The price on the contract will then be lower by this percentage. That's a sensible concession, and I really can't offer any more than that.
That's too high a price for such a new company like mine, Mr. Van Haven. The market is saturated, and that's why we want to compete on quality, not price. When you were starting out, would you have agreed to these terms?
Unfortunately, yes, I would. My first contract was a disaster, but I thought that was the way it was. It's difficult at the beginning, but don't lose heart. Solid arguments can soften the heart of even the hardest businessmen. Do you have any?
Well, definitely our quality, which we have to persuade our suppliers about. They're very distrustful. Lots of them don't even want to meet like this. That's why I'm so grateful to you for being open to try new things. I'd like to earn your trust, but not at the cost of such a price reduction.
I understand you. When I started out, someone believed in me and trusted me too. Maybe that will happen here too if you can offer me a better deal. Let's start with cutting the delivery charges. They're the easiest thing to resign from to cost the value of the contract by this much.
In my position, a reduction like that is still a large amount. Knowing how good the quality of your product is, would you sign a contract that won't make you a profit?
I would sign it to get my foot in the door, Mr. Oliver. I'm not a patron, and Foxy Hills isn't a charity. We'll support you, but we want something in return.
We both know your offer is too expensive. I'd have to discuss it with my boss, whereas I'm pretty sure you don't need to ask anyone else about such a small detail, right?
And that's where you're wrong, Mr. Oliver. I have a boss too, and I can tell you, he wasn't at all convinced about our meeting. Maybe he was right? I'll take a risk. Would a cut in delivery charges to reduce the price by this percentage be acceptable to you?
So how did you persuade your boss? If he was satisfied with your current suppliers, he wouldn't check out new ones, would he? Especially ones with a new product. I've seen your product range, and it could do with being freshened up. Our brand is perfect for that, and I'm going to stand by my first price proposal.
Okay, I agree. You worked me hard, but I think the prospects for collaboration look interesting. Let's sum up what we've established and sign the forms.
I should sum up what happened after that meeting. Van Haven's clients were supposed. I spotted a young, cocky Richard with my. The other woman was Amanda Van Haven. It must have been through their being two young married couple. Joseph watched as I examined the photos. He smiled. He told the story of what a close bunch they were. It's not even. It puzzled me. Catherine never mentioned a conflict with Joseph's wife, and I never asked. What trifle broke their long term? The telephone interrupted us. The call was from George McFowle with an urgent matter, and lifted the receiver. He pointed to his watch. It looked like it was going. It wasn't a good meeting. Van Haven kept talking right over me. On purpose? Or was he taking pity on me? Am I really? He didn't tell me anything new about Richard's disappearance. Still, one more thing was still troubling me. That missing painting from the Kersey's living room. Did its disappearance have anything to do with the case? I need to check the investigation board. So, what do I have to deal with this week? So, what's going on in this company? Someone placed an order. The deal isn't great, but it's a chance for some extra cash. You're doing a great job. 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 So, what do I have to deal with this week? This is a good lead, but the information may cost me a lot. Good morning, Miss.
Good day, Mr. Oliver.
I'm very...
Well, it wasn't easy. But I also have a fish to fry here.
Excellent. Let's get down to brass tacks then.
By all means.
Mr. Van Haven has this photo on his desk from his studies, I think. There's a fabulous blonde in it. Who is she?
Fabulous? I don't know who it could be.
But you must know her. She must be a family friend. I really need to know her name and number. For the good of the case, of course.
Perhaps you mean Britt Damolkvist. I don't know her number, but you might find it in the phone book.
How long have you worked for the Van Havens?
I do not work for them, Mr. Oliver. I run the house.
Okay. I like my work too. How long have you assisted the Van Havens?
In 1 month, it will be 19 years.
Wow. Impressive.
Not really. I simply do what is required of me.
Reliably and discreetly?
Just so.
And yet you agreed to meet me and divulge the family secrets. Why?
I have my reasons. And any secrets I might tell you. They pose no threat to the Van Havens.
I know Richard Kersey and Mr. Van Haven were friends.
Pfft, maybe they were once.
But their wives? Did Catherine Kersey and Amanda Van Haven get on well?
Them? I think they tried to maintain a level of decorum, in spite of everything.
Was there any conflict between them?
Nothing they ever mentioned. But before Kersey disappeared, there was that strange incident with the picture.
Picture?
Oh, forgive me. I was miles away. I worry an awful lot about how terribly expensive everything is getting. This damn government should be run out of office. Don't you agree?
Financially, I don't think you should have anything to worry about.
Very well. Shortly after his wife's death, Kersey brought Mr. Van Haven a picture. It was purportedly a family heirloom. Priceless.
Interesting. What happened?
Kersey was afraid of something. He asked for the painting to be looked after. Mr. Van Haven agreed at first. But then, you know how it is.
No. How is it?
Just think about it. Her husband never liked art. Then all of a sudden there's an enormous painting hanging in the living room. He suddenly got interested in interior design. You understand? Mrs. Van Haven is a smart woman. She was suspicious from the get-go.
I presume Mr. Haven didn't stand a chance.
Men never do, Mr. Oliver. He admitted he was only looking after the painting as a favour to Kersey. And when he mentioned what it was worth, and that it belonged to Catherine...
Poor guy.
Well, Mrs. Van Haven was furious. You could see that such an ostentatious reminder of a dead woman upset her. She ordered her husband to get rid of it immediately. Immediately!
So what became of the painting?
First, Mr. Van Haven tried to return it, but Kersey wouldn't hear of it. He said that, after Catherine's death, he couldn't have the painting in the house.
But Mr. Van Haven had to listen to his wife, didn't he?
He did, and the painting disappeared. I don't know what became of it.
Mrs. Fink, you're priceless.
It would be rude to deny.
Mrs. Fink, is there anything else you want to tell me about? A clue or a piece of evidence that might help crack the Kersey case?
There is something, but the information will cost you.
I'm ready for that.
That photo you saw in Mr. Van Haven's office, or rather its print.
Go on.
This is it. Do you know whose face has been scraped off it?
Wait, that's Catherine Kersey, isn't it? Signed Viper.
Precisely.
Where did you get it?
From Mrs. Van Haven's personal album. She thinks she lost it, but won't ask the staff, of course. Keeping a photo like that would be a little strange, to say the least.
You mention it might cost me. How much for the photo?
That's why I met you. I want this much for it.
That's fine by me, Mrs. Fink. That's a fair price. And if it leads me to Kersey, it will even be a noble act.
Do you have any idea how much I paid at the hairdresser's last time? I've had the same style for 20 years, and they tried to rip me off like some naive tourist.
That's scandalous, Mrs. Fink. Allow me to cover the costs of your next visit.
And the colouring? I can't look like I was getting old now.
Of course, the coloring too. Will that do it?
It'll have to. I'm not a beggar, Mr. Oliver.
It never crossed my mind, Mrs. Fink.
Good luck, Mr. Oliver. That is all I have for you. Farewell.
I need to check the investigation board. Now I need to set the new clues and data on the board. So, what's going on in this company? New week, a fresh start. This is a good lead, but the information may cost me a lot. So, what do I have to deal with this week? Someone place an order. The deal isn't great, but it's a chance for some extra cash. I think that's all I've got for now. Let's see if there are any connections. This is a good lead, but the information may cost. Hello, Mr.
I beg your pardon?
The house. It still looks.
Still?
I mean, I saw it once, but from the stories the Kerseys told, I expected something else.
Ruins, perhaps? With their own major domo?
Yeah, I guess so. I'm sorry. It's nice that you honor your employer's memory this way.
Apology accepted, Mr. Oliver. But I'm not honoring his memory. I'm awaiting his return. How can I help you?
Mrs. Fink mentioned that after Catherine's death, Richard gave Joseph a picture to look after. Apparently, it stirred up a heap of trouble.
That old tart. She spoke to you. That's how she treats professional secrecy.
You know the story?
The picture? I do. There was a bit of a fuss.
Good. Tell me all about it.
What do you want to know?
How large is the picture?
Quite large. About a square meter or so? It was intended to attract attention, and it did an excellent job.
I see. What is it of?
The Kerseys' first coffee plantation, the one in Guyana, from where the family's fortune derives, or at least what's left of it when Mr. Richard returns.
Aha, so the picture shows a coffee harvest.
Yes, I suppose so.
I'm all ears, Mr. Pensy. What is this information?
Someone else may be looking for the picture, Mr. Oliver. It is important to me that Mr. Richard doesn't lose his family heirloom.
And so that's why he wanted to store it at the Van Havens, to protect it from theft.
So I suspect.
I see. Who else wants it?
The person in question is most likely George McFall. He asked me once if I knew anything about the story connected with the painting. He's an acquaintance of Mr. Richard since way back when. He's an interesting type, if I can describe him so.
Why would he be looking for it? Selling a well-known picture like that means you're almost sure to get caught.
Sell it? No, not at all. You see, this is no ordinary picture.
What do you mean?
Mr. Richard appreciates fine alcohol, if you get my drift. Mr. McFall too. One evening, they appreciated some whiskey so enthusiastically they woke me up. I went to ask if everything was all right, and it was then when I heard Mr. Richard say, apparently the picture holds a secret.
So the picture may be more than just a keepsake. That's a puzzle.
We do not need to solve it, Mr. Oliver. Please, just get the picture back. When Mr. Richard returns, I want him to see I've looked after the family's interests.
Thanks, Mr. Pensy. Something eating you?
Of late, I've had some unplanned expenses. As a gentleman, I'd rather not go into the details.
Were these details expensive?
Fairly.
Would this much compensate you for all the stress?
Perhaps. That and your assurance that this conversation will remain between us.
And my money will remain between us too.
It would appear so. Thank you for your understanding, Mr. Oliver.
I need to check the investigation board. Now I need to set the new clues and data on the board. That's it. Some great deduction skills, Oliver. I think these are all the connections. I still need to move the investigation further and get more clues. Should I move the investigation forward or wait and make some more cash instead? A new week, a fresh start. Congratulations, you've just got yourself a raise. Should I move the investigation forward or wait and make some more cash instead? I got back late today. I poured a glass and turned on the TV. It wasn't a good idea.
Breaking news. Joseph Van Haven, the coffee entrepreneur, has been reported. Just like recently another coffee supplier and close friend of his, Richard Kersey. Maybe someone will start looking for them before we run out of coffee here in London. What are the police doing? All I see is them standing in line outside the Black Mug. Can't the Kerseys afford a private investigation? I thought they were rich.
Van Haven? First, he hangs up when asked about the painting. Now, he disappears. He can't be hiding from... I've got to make headway with this case. Funny thing, it seems that this investigation will need me to make and spend a lot of money to get anywhere near the truth. Where the hell is that sly dog Richard? Whose toe did he step on? Did he willingly abandon his daughter in Neo-London for good? Is it one of those cases where the truth is hidden and tangled in a decades-old web spined by guilt, hate, money, and broken promises or badly ended friendships?
Dear Arthur, I hope you don't have too much trouble with all this managing and selling coffee stuff. It's a crazy idea, but it may work. I've heard you're already winning the trust of the coffee entrepreneurs Richard has worked with. I know Clarabelle has given you all the needed information. Forgive me for not contributing more, but I prefer to keep my head down due to present circumstances. I've also heard on TV about Joseph missing. Did you talk to Clarabelle about it? She must be devastated, as Joseph was more like a father to her. Sadly speaking, contrary to Richard, she could always count on Van Haven. I'm sure these same bastards are behind Joseph's disappearance. He was Richard's only friend, after all. I fear even more for my brother, and now also for Clarabelle. I know I'm asking you for another favour, but I'm begging you, keep an eye on her and be careful who you trust. In this corrupt city, everyone has their own fishy issues. Stay on your guard, and good luck. Henry.
So, what do I have to deal with this week? New week, a fresh start. Someone place an order. The deal isn't great, but it's a chance for some extra cash. So,